So I wasn't entirely sure if I was going to make this video. It's kind of been something that's been, I don't know, percolating for quite a while now. And recently things have kind of gotten to the point where it's pushed me over the edge that I really just wanted to sit down and talk about it. Um, I don't really know what has happened over the past couple of years to increase the amount of fanboyism, partisanship, team choosing, to the point where it's now become a destructive force in the PC community rather than a rallying cry, and or even like a fun little side conflict. There have always been teams in PC hardware. There's always been brands that have been around that have been competing with one another. For a while, they were kind of like macro brands, right? Like you have like the big SIs competing against each other. Or eventually you have Mac versus PC. And then you get kind of boiled down a little bit more to the individual component manufacturers becoming the teams that people are kind of loyal to. And I understand that. It's kind of part of our ingrained competitive spirit, especially if you were somebody who grew up playing any kind of sports or doing anything competitive, really. That kind of mentality is something that's really kind of drilled into us from the get-go. You want to be better than other people in school. You want to get that scholarship. You want to win the game for whatever team you happen to play for. Or even you're cheering on your favorite professional team and you want them to win, and as a result, you dislike other people that like other teams. But again, for the most part, that's fairly good-natured, and it's kind of a part of what we've come to accept as like normal life. But for some reason, when it comes to people choosing sides in the PC space, it has gotten to the point where there's no longer a conversation or a friendly competition surrounding these brands. It's not like people are looking at it like we have Intel and we have AMD and they both have good points and they both have bad points, and I'm going to choose this company over this company for these reasons. It almost seems like any sense of procedure or scientific method as far as choosing a product that you would like to purchase or a product that you'd like to support in some way has just kind of been thrown by the wayside. And people are just choosing a side to choose a side. It's almost like a celebrity being famous because they're famous, I guess. It almost kind of like is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like you want to like a certain brand because you already like that brand. And I don't know why that is, because those brands have no loyalty to you. I'm not entirely sure why somebody would choose brand A over brand B just because of the name on the package rather than what that product is going to be able to provide to that person. And it's something that I've struggled to understand as I've gotten a larger and larger audience on YouTube, and the comments and Twitter messages and whatever other media happens to be coming my way have just gotten so toxic when it comes to a product review or a new launch, where I'm going to try to do my best to give you guys an honest evaluation of that product based on my testing and my results. And I can only relay to you what I'm seeing and how I think this product is going to perform when it's in your hands. I'm not doing so, and nobody in this space is doing so because they're paid to say a certain thing. And despite what people might want to think, I don't know anybody who does what we do, what I do, and is paid off by AMD or paid off by Intel or paid off by NVIDIA. And I don't know, again, I don't know where that came from, where people want to believe that that is the case. These companies aren't paying us. We get product to do a review, and that's the extent of the relationship. And the products can be reviewed positively or negatively, and it doesn't matter because what they're looking for is exposure. They want us to talk about the products, which we are doing. That's the extent of the transaction that happens. I recently had a company reach out to me, and maybe it was a video that you guys saw where it was a tablet that they wanted me to review. And it was terrible. It was an awful product. And my review of this tablet said, this is an awful product. And the next day they reached back out to me and they said, we understand every one of your concerns. We've been in contact with our engineers. We're revamping this product. Thank you for your feedback. We're going to send you a new one when we come out with the next version. That's kind of how this cycle works. Of course, they're going to want a positive review or a recommendation because in 2019, YouTube influencers really are that. We are pretty influential. People look to us for honest reviews of products and information that they couldn't otherwise get, including video of this product. How does this product look when I'm using it, etc. So accidentally, almost, it seems like the YouTube tech reviewer community has kind of stumbled upon a position of importance. And maybe it's the fact that a lot of people kind of want to lash out against what is perceived authority, that they feel they know better than the people who are actually doing the testing. But it's almost like when you publish a video for a particular brand, and there are people who are loyal to that brand's competitor, no matter if they've used this product or not, no matter if they have any additional information on this product or not, they're not only going to question your testing methods and conclusions, but they're also going to throw personal barbs at you and say that you don't know what you're doing and that you're clearly wrong about what you're saying. And I don't know why, but the substance of this kind of discussion has completely gone out the window. There's no longer let's talk about what the benefits of these products are. It's just I'm loyal to this brand and I will not consider other points of view. When I was coming up in the PC space and when I first started building computers, I did not care what company's products I was using. Granted, the times were maybe a little bit different and the situations were a little bit different, but if a processor performed well, that's the one I was going to use. I didn't care what the name was on the box. And that doesn't really seem to be the case these days. I've used AMD components and Intel components. Recently, I've been on Intel because it's better for what I do professionally, but that does not make me an Intel shill as much as people might want to think that. And like I've kind of touched on, it seems to be getting worse. And it kind of maybe is pulling from the society's kind of skew recently towards just complete partisanship over everything. It seems like, politics, I guess, is something that everybody could probably relate to, that, when it comes to decision making, you're on a team. It doesn't matter what the other team is saying. Your team is going to be correct and the other team is going to be stupid and wrong. And it's kind of really cut down on the political discourse, not only in this country, but I'm sure in other countries as well. And that's the attitude that now is kind of being trickled down into other areas of life. And it's kind of tearing the community apart because no matter if you support this brand or that brand, you're going to be fighting with somebody because there's going to be somebody out there who likes your competitor. And it used to kind of be PCs versus consoles, especially when it come to gaming. when it came to gaming. And I guess it's still that to some extent, but that has really kind of cooled down. But that was more fun. That was, especially when you had a game when you could get both PC players and console players in the same lobby and put them together and let them play against each other. There was banter, there was shit talking, there was camaraderie because you were both playing the same game. And that's kind of what PC building and the PC enthusiast community used to be. You all used to be playing the same game. And no matter if you wanted to toss a few barbs at somebody or, kind of needle them for whatever, in the end, it didn't matter because you guys were all playing the same game. You're all looking to be able to build the system, to be able to take advice from people who may have more experience than you. And that partisan divide has gotten so bad that whenever any of us posts a video that praises one company or talks badly about another company, despite the fact that we are in a fairly unique position, that we have access to all of this hardware and we can intelligently talk about the results that we're seeing and why one product might be good for you versus another one, we are the ones that are catching all this heat from X community because they feel we're being unfair or our conclusions are wrong or our testing was flawed or we don't know what the hell we're doing. And when I sit back and think about it, it kind of makes me a little sad that everybody now is almost convinced that they need to be on a side, that they need to be a part of half of the community and fight against the other half of the community. Whether we're talking Intel and AMD or NVIDIA and AMD or Gigabyte versus Asus or Be Quiet versus NZXT, whatever the case may be, I'm sure there are fanboys of everybody out there. It's just a matter of scale, how many people feel that way about whatever given product. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it gets especially bad when we do graphics card and or CPU reviews that the people come out of the woodwork and just bash everything that's being said just for the sake of it. And this isn't like it's gone beyond trolling. It's no longer trolling. I don't know. It's almost willfully ignorant, the commentary that's going on about whatever video we happen to be doing at the time. And of course, like one of the reasons that really triggered me to do this video was the fact that Jay's 2 cents, who I'm sure all of you guys know, has recently had a bout of contention with a lot of people who watched one of his videos where he was sitting in front of a PC that he had built, and it was he was videoing it malfunctioning. It had things that were going wrong as he was going through the testing, and he was demonstrating what his frustrations were and how he was trying to fix it and why maybe he might move to a different chip or board or something. And apparently the comments section of that video just blew up. There were multiple threads on Reddit about how Jay didn't know what the hell he was talking about. And man, that was really frustrating to watch. And Jay kind of went ham on like replying to comments and making it known that he was just trying to demonstrate something that was actually happening to him. It's not like he went out of his way to make this stuff happen. Why would you want a system that you built to be malfunctioning? That makes no sense. So I think maybe he gave it a little more credence than a lot of us do when these similar things happen to us, and that he was sitting there and specifically addressing a lot of the comments that were coming through. And as Jay is, I mean, he did it in a way that probably was a little inflammatory. And I'm not going to lie, like most of what he says is exactly what I think when I see people commenting that stuff too. It's just that, he just kind of lets it fly sometimes. And I think that maybe snowballed it a little bit. And, we got to these posts on Reddit and whatever else. And all of that was born out of Jay making a video demonstrating how something was not working correctly and why, which is literally his job. That's what we have. That's what we are supposed to be doing, is educating consumers and our audiences about PC hardware, about the pitfalls of building, about the things that can go wrong, how to fix them, and what you can expect when you have similar hardware. And it's baffling to me that people were attacking him over doing his job, especially when doing his job was demonstrating something that could be extremely useful for other people that may be in the same situation. Granted, the build that he was talking about had a motherboard that was pre-production, and that may have factored in to what was going on. He did also talk about that. So there wasn't very much that he didn't cover. And, it's just really bizarre to me that people have such a visceral reaction, like they're being personally attacked because a brand that they favor is not shown in the best light. And, obviously me making this video is not going to be able to fix any of that. I've done my best to be as impartial as possible on this channel with my reviews, with my builds, with how I answer questions and talk to people and answer comments and tweets. But it doesn't matter, because it seems like it's just bleeding over to every part of life, not just social media, not just YouTube comments, not just my videos, not just Jay's videos. It's just everywhere. And even though I've tried to do my best to kind of cultivate a good conversational atmosphere amongst my viewers, it seems like even my viewership is going that way too. I made a video a couple months ago where I reevaluated the Radeon 7 graphics card, which has since seen end of life status, and I tried to see if it had improved any over my initial review, which was admittedly fairly negative, and it really hadn't very much. But I tried. Like, I'm not out here to really talk down on a product for the sake of talking down on a product. Like, if I'm telling you a product is bad, it's likely bad, or at least very likely has some of the bad characteristics that I've talked about. I'm not here to make stuff up. I put in hours and hours and hours of testing, writing 4, 5, 6 single-spaced pages of script to try to communicate with you my conclusions about whatever product it happens to be. And if I didn't care, I wouldn't go back and retest things. I wouldn't go back and test the Radeon 7 again with the new drivers, just to see if it had gotten any better, if overclocking had improved, if maybe thermals or noise had gotten a little better, whatever the case may be. I wouldn't do it. If I didn't care, I wouldn't do it. And this, I don't know how many of you know, this is not my primary job. I have a 9 to 5, or more like a 7 to 6 job that I do. I do work from home, so that does help. But the hours that I have to allocate to doing this work are minimal. I have a family, I have a wife, I have activities and friends and whatever else. And the amount of hours that I put into this channel are like, they're like all of my spare hours. It would be foolish of me to attempt to build a community and a brand and a channel on lies, on false conclusions and falsified data, because that would come out. Like, that would be very obvious to anybody who has half a brain and watches maybe one other video relating to the same thing that I'm talking about. They'd be like, wait, what? That doesn't make any sense, what Brian's saying. So I'm going out of my way to try to make the content as relevant and as high quality as possible, and communicate with you guys what you can expect from any product or system or whatever the case may be. It's not being done to be misleading or to be partisan. And it's really frustrating to see that the response to videos like me going back and testing the Radeon 7 were, overwhelmingly negative, especially compared to a lot of other videos that I have published, because my conclusion was that it's still not good. And I think AMD kind of validated that conclusion by making the product end of life, although I guess we aren't entirely sure what their initial plan was for it. That could have just been the plan all along. But if it was a good product, if it was selling like gangbusters, if it was performing above expectations, if people loved it, they wouldn't have end-of-lifed it. They would have kept it on the shelves. In any event, I'm not entirely sure if you guys have gotten anything out of this video at all besides me just kind of sitting here and, stream of consciousness kind of thing. But I really did want to talk about how disappointed I am, because it seems like we have a community here that could be so good sometimes and so helpful to others. We have people doing charity builds for wounded warriors. We have people doing giveaways and helping with tech advice and anything and everything that goes into this community that could be viewed in a positive light is here. We have it. But at the same time, there's a large subset of that same community that literally exists just to argue about things and to tear people apart. I guess that's a little hyperbole, but it seems like people sometimes are they're no longer trolling. They're no longer being helpful. They're fighting to see if somebody will cave, to see if somebody will give in. And with how partisan things have become, it almost seems like that's not a possibility. Nobody's going to capitulate. Nobody's going to say, you know what? You have a point. Because that's just not the way things work anymore. And I guess maybe it's a little bit of old school on my part, but I kind of miss those days. And fanboying is not good for anybody. Blind support of any given company, any given product is foolish. You don't need to do that. These companies want your money. They don't need also you fanboying because they don't care. They're making a product to sell it. And the fervent nature of the support that some companies get, most companies get from, whatever subsection of the community is weird. And I wish it would stop, to be honest, because it doesn't do anybody any good at all.